Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Steve Phillips coming up on Jay's Rangers role play level of concern later in the hour. We were talking about that Max Scherzer injury last night, and the Rangers have come out and said he's done for the year. Will not need surgery, but what is Scherzer, 43 years old? You know, it's
probably game over.
You have to wonder. I mean, he's still got great stuff, though. Like, he's still – look at him last night.
I get it, but you he's going to have surgery on his elbow, whatever it is, after that at 42 or 43 years old.
He's 39. He's 39, but he's coming 40 in July.
Okay.
So next July. So
Verlander's
he just turned 39.
in his 40s.
Yeah, it's Verlander. But
still. He'll be 40. It's just like Rogers. You know, Rogers has a much more extensive injury. Again, it doesn't sound like Scherzer will need surgery, but that is something that can pop up 2 or 3 months down the road, right? He rehabs, and then they realize, actually, this isn't working. You're going to need surgery. But a real big blow to the Rangers, because he was going to give them another, few starts down the stretch, and if they made the playoffs and everything lined up, he'd probably get the ball game won. In fact, I think that would be a lock. And now he's out. He's out for the season. So that's tough. And, on the Rogers side of things, I guess Robert Saleh was saying today that he'd be shocked if he didn't return. And I don't know where he'd be getting that information. I mean, I'm sure he's spoken with Rogers, but 2 days after the guy, blowing his Achilles out, I'm not sure you're going to get much clarity on what actually is going to happen in the future with Aaron Rodgers.
Right. Can you recall anything like that, like a player going to a different team and the hype and the buildup and that kind of that thing, like whatever happened?
No.
I can't recall.
I think it's the most deflating
like,
story I can recall in sports. I'm being dead serious. I mean,
they were like, this is the one piece that could possibly win us a Super Bowl this year, and they went out and got him, and he played 4 snaps.
Yes. I have a couple of friends who are Jets fans, and my one buddy across the street, he had bought a Rodgers jersey. Like, he had bought number 8 Jets. He was like, this is our guy. We're winning a Super Bowl. I am going to flaunt the fact that I'm a Jet fan. Another buddy of mine, John, he's been a lifelong Jets fan. He's like, I don't even tell people I'm a Jet fan. I have been boasting about my fandom since we acquired Rodgers. Like, getting cocky, right? I'm a Jet fan. We got Aaron Rodgers. We're going to the Super Bowl. Watch yourself. And 4 snaps in, they're like, we're done. It's over. It sucks. This is the definition of being a Jet fan. Right, you talk about a cursed fan base or being tortured. You finally get the guy, and 4 snaps. He didn't even complete a pass, not one pass. Wow. There is not game tape of him throwing a pass in the regular season as a New York Jets quarterback, and he's done. And
Hazy,
now
how nervous would they be even if he came back next year? Every time the guy would do anything faster than a walk, they'd be like, "Is this guy's?" Because that stuff, it's hard to recover from, man.
Well, and there's already some reports coming out. Diana Rossini of The Athletic reporting that the Jets blocking scheme, they use a cut block scheme, and Rodgers is not a fan of it. And I guess it's already coming out that Rodgers is kind of pissed off with the fact that, and if you look at that play, the left tackle, I think he was going for a cut block, which that's why you could see it. He's on the ground. He's getting up afterwards. And the guy who's, the outside linebacker or defensive end who's coming around him, Floyd, I think was his name, is just gone. Like, he missed the cut. He missed the assignment and got to Rodgers, took him down. So you've got possibly Rodgers, who's not vindictive already of the Jets, but possibly bitter with the fact that they threw out a blocking scheme that he may blame for the injury, on top of the fact that
can
it's
it just
turf
be a fluke and an unfortunate
grass.
thing?
Of course it should be.
I know.
Of course it should be.
Oh my God.
But this is fantasy world. This is sports, and it's Aaron Rodgers. We just saw it in Green Bay, right? He'll find someone else to blame. And that's generally how he operates.
If he comes out and says, I've been telling the defensive coordinator to cut the crap with the cut blocks, and that's why this happened, I'll just be like, oh my word.
He'll never say that on the record. Ever on the record.
But honestly, maybe this still is. Maybe those Jets fans can, relish a Zach Wilson story, just
good luck with that, Noodles. I don't know
they're
what
just not doing that. They're not doing that.
No. they're not even really trying. You know, like I feel bad for Saleh because he's got to go out there as the head coach and rally the group, and they're 1-0, right? You got 16 games left to play. You're 1-0. You're all professionals. You're all making a lot of money. You still have to work hard and perform and try and win. But it's like everyone understands. Like it's done. You're not unless you get somebody else, which I don't see who that's going to be right now. But maybe leading up to the trade deadline, there's a quarterback that could be available. I doubt it. But I just don't see how you can have faith that Zach Wilson is going to snap out of it and find a way to win this. I don't think it's going to happen. All right, joining us now on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Here's our TSN MLB and Blue Jay analyst, Steve Phillips. Yeah, I think you're still down in the New York area, Steve. How depressing is the football scene down there?
Oh, my gosh. The Giants were so bad against the Cowboys. And then to lose Aaron Rodgers on the fourth snap of the season. Now, the fact that Jets won that game was a shock to me. Like, it was 13-3 at the half. I went to bed thinking, that's over. There's no way without Rodgers they're going to come back and win that game. And I think the Jets better take some stock a little bit because that was a bad loss for them. But I'm with you. I mean, it is going to be from where the expectations were. And then after 1 week, talk radio is just crazy down here right now with disappointed football fans.
Yeah, and I'm curious. You know, I don't think there would be an equivalent in baseball. In fact, there isn't an equivalent really in any other sport. Maybe a starting goaltender in hockey if you have a superstar who's like the guy who's going to drag you somewhere. But as a management, like we keep talking about Saleh, the head coach, but the GM down in New York, like what the hell are you supposed to do now? Your whole game plan and your whole legacy was based around acquiring Rodgers and pulling off that trade. And now he's out, and the whole world understands you have no shot at actually doing anything this year.
Yeah, I think what you do is you punt. I think that's, you drop back and punt. I mean, it's going to be, they'll do the best they can. They'll mix and match. Maybe they could be good enough. Their defense was really good last week, and I give them credit for that. I did not anticipate their defense would play so well, but they're in a tough spot right now. They're going to have a tough time scoring points, and I'm with you. The backup quarterback was awful. And I don't trust him at all to be able to get the job done. So, yeah, it's got a chance. I've got a couple of my boys are big Jets fans, too, and so they're devastated. One of them was at the game. He's like, at halftime, he texted me, he goes, Dad, this is the worst stadium, the quietest stadium I've ever been in right now, because all the energy that was there before the game, it was dead silent because everybody understood what it meant to the rest of their season.
It's wild, man. It is one of the wildest scenes and stories I've seen in a long time. And as we transition into the Jays in baseball, I would suggest that Alek Manoah's story would probably apply too. This whole season has been just a dark period. I mean, that's what it's been. It's been really, you talk about punting on a season. That's precisely what's happened here with Alek Manoah. He has gone so far backwards. And now the recent reports have come out this week, Steve, and I know you're aware of them, and I think they're coming from the Jays in the front office, that Manoah basically just said, I'm not showing up. Like, you can send me to Buffalo, but I'm not doing it.
How about pay, Hazy? Does he get paid?
Well, I guess, Steve, you could answer that. I mean, what do you make of this, and how does this work in terms of Manoah getting paid and what this means for his future in Toronto?
So, it depends. If you're on a restricted list, then you generally don't get paid, and I think that's what they ultimately put him on. However, there may be some dispute or questions about his health. There were some, reports that what he did was he stayed behind, saw doctors, and it's now, there's some discussions going on about whether this was a health-related issue. And, that he had things going on that maybe everybody didn't know at first, and now they're finding out. So I think there's more to the story still to come out with this from the sources that I've talked to on it. And so I think that I'll withhold a lot of judgment on it. It sounded bad, right, that he just didn't want to report, and, that's just not the way it works. I mean, I used to tell youth football players this in the huddle. Don't get sad, get mad. I don't want you to see you crying. I want you to see you grit your teeth and go out there and hit somebody. And I look at players, baseball players, say, wait, I don't want you being sad you got sent down. Get mad. Go down there and put yourself in a position that you force us to bring you back up to the major leagues. And so, now he didn't go down and do anything, and he wasn't pitching, which makes me think that maybe there's some indication or thought that he thinks there's an injury factor that's part of this. So I think there's going to be more to the story still as this unfolds.
Steve, how do you explain the whole vibe? I mean, I would have a follow-up on Manoah, but it seems like there might be something behind the scenes up with this guy. But the vibe down at the Dome last night and the way these guys are playing, especially their star players at the plate, like, did you expect that? There was hardly anyone there, and it just felt like a Grapefruit League game. It was really weird. It's like the whole air came out of everything at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the same thing. Like, where was everybody? This was built up to be the series of the season.
No kidding.
And nobody was there. And I'm thinking, all right, well, maybe, it's a weekday and it's schools are in, and maybe that's the issue with it. And I didn't know what the weather was like. And so, obviously not affecting the field, but just, travel to the stadium. So I thought, all right, well, maybe there's some explanation.
But Steve, you were with the Mets. Like any kind of real baseball market, there's no schools back in session excuse. That's nonsense.
Yeah. It was a little surprising. And that being said, the team played like that. I mean, their approach offensively was as bad as I've seen all year. The first inning, Scherzer's throwing 93, and Scherzer's throwing 93, and they're late on his fastball. But Springer followed him off, Bichette and Guerrero. I'm thinking, wait a minute, turn these things around. They were hard of the plate fastballs, and then they just gave at bats away late in the game. They were swinging at pitches out of the zone, rear ends flying, no real approach to the plate, no discipline at the plate. It was not a very good showing. Now, it's been some part of the story this year that they've been inconsistent offensively, but that was, in a big game, and against Scherzer, who just got crushed the last time around. And then even when you got Scherzer out, their approach wasn't much better against the bullpen. So, it was a disappointing effort yesterday.
So, Steve, where do you go from here? I mean, to salvage this, if you can go 2-2 in this series here, what needs to happen? Is it as simple as the big boys just show up, or do you need support cast? Is it tinkering with the roster? Where do you start here?
Yeah, well, it's whatever it takes, right, to have to win a game. And so, you can't rely upon one formula. But, generally speaking, I don't count on the complementary players, the blenders in the lineup, to carry the offensive load. There are games during the season where that happens, but this is a team where Vladdy has got to get the job done. And I'm on SportsCenter tonight talking about that, and for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and the expectations that he needs to be the guy who steps up, and he had some really poor at bats yesterday. His rear end was flying. He was waving at pitches out of the zone. And the way I reference it is, I had John Olerud. You guys certainly are familiar with John Olerud there. And John Olerud never gave up an at-bat. Didn't matter the score, the inning, the situation, runners on. It could be first inning, last inning. His approach was always the same. He never chased a pitch out of the zone. He forced the pitcher to throw it in. When he got it, he took advantage of it. He didn't necessarily hit it the hardest or the furthest of anybody, but he always gave you that consistent quality at-bat. And he never gave one up where it just felt like, that was a complete wasted at bat. And I saw so many of those yesterday, and Vladdy particularly, and he's had a lot of those. And for a guy who's that talented, and part of it is probably over trying and trying to do too much, and then he's disappointed and frustrated. But, and I think the other thing I mentioned too is he's the youngest player on the Blue Jays right now. He's still the youngest player on the team. And we don't really think about him that way because he's been around for a while, but he is the youngest player there. And so I cut him a little bit of a break, but, he taught us to expect greatness, and he's not giving it to us right now. And so I think it's reasonable to be disappointed. The key right now isn't what happened. It's what's going to happen today. He's in the lineup, and obviously they probably can't afford to sit him, but they might not be able to afford not to sit him just to let him clear his mind. So he's in there today. Maybe he can get things turned around. And it seems like every time we sort of rail on Vladdy, he has that day where he hits a home run, drives in a couple runs, and he backs us off. And so maybe today will be the day. And listen, if they win the next two games, they split the series, they're in a great spot. And especially because Max Scherzer, the reports out now, Scherzer done for the year for the Texas Rangers.
I'm not going to circle back and say this guy, don't forget, he's the youngest guy. All these young players, Steve, they want everything ASAP. And when they perform, it's like, give me the money, give me the recognition, give me the commercials. And when they falter, you can't just toss out, in my opinion, he's still young. It's like you're the guy. You think you're the guy. You want to be treated like the guy, so you got to be the guy, and it's non-negotiable.
Yeah, and Hayes is the guy, and he's always the guy, and he wants to be treated like the guy.
Yeah, that's right.
He thinks he's the guy.
I tell people.
Yeah, no, he does. He thinks he's that guy, and he acts like that guy. And sometimes he is the guy.
That's right.
Although, listen, if I put forth the equivalent of an 0 for 8 in the biggest series of the year with 4 strikeouts, I'd be concerned with my own performance, and I wouldn't be looking at my birth certificate. I mean, this guy's approach is terrible. Like, Vladdy's approach is terrible. And listen, Bichette's been no better. Bichette's 0 for 8, too. Bichette, he's not going deep in counts. You can see he's injured. He's DHing tonight, and that's going to have a ripple effect on the rest of the roster because Biggio's not playing tonight, which I can't understand. Biggio's been red hot recently. He should be in the lineup, but that'll be analytically driven. Somehow Dalton Varsho has to stay in.
You know, Montgomery's pitching. They're throwing the lefty, and so they're going to try to get the right-handed bats in the lineup against them. And
I hear you.
But I'm with you. I'm Biggio. I am with you. I've been very impressed with Kevin Biggio, and he's, I know he was the slowest to develop among the three, but he had not played very good third base when they first played him over there. But he's made some tremendous plays over the last week or two. He's swinging the bat well, and I suspect that he will be a factor in this game tonight at some point, probably coming off the bench.
Yeah, I think he will. I think Spencer Horwitz could be a guy that comes off the bench once they get to the bullpen. I mean, it's crazy, and I think it's a sign of what's going on here, Steve, that's what Blue Jay fans are relying on. They're like, when does Biggio get up to the plate? When does Spencer Horwitz give us a big AB? Davis Schneider, who consistently has been doing it. He had 2 hits and a home run again last night. Like, at no point is anyone in Toronto sitting there saying, I'm waiting for Vladdy Guerrero Jr. to actually do something big. It's right. I mean, and that doesn't mean he won't or that he's incapable of doing it, but he's put himself in that position where it doesn't feel like there's a Blue Jay fan on earth that is bracing for him to drag this team anywhere right now. And that's been consistent all year.
I get it. Yeah, who would have thought that Spencer Horwitz sounds like a lawyer or an accountant. Right. I mean, he doesn't sound like the guy that's going to be a big offensive player, yet he's had some big hits, and Davis Schneider obviously has had some as well. And how about the note that Davis Schneider, in the first 25 games of his career, has the best start ever, the highest OPS ever of a player in his first 25 games at the Major League level, ever.
Wow. Isn't that incredible? Amazing. That's amazing. Step aside Ted Williams, Babe Ruth, like – Davis
can he play, Steve? Can he play? Like, do you see him as an everyday player, or is he a guy that's going to fizzle out and kind of head back, come down to earth type of thing?
Yeah, so I don't. He's not going to be this guy, but I think he can be an everyday player. But I don't look at him as an aircraft carrier. I mean, he's got a 1,300 plus OPS. He's not that kind of player, but he does work the count. I could see him a high 800, low 900 OPS guy, which could be an everyday player. Now, he's not the greatest defender with the greatest range and everything else, but he'll make some plays. I think he's probably more of a second baseman than he is anything. But I do think that you could count on him next year in the lineup, being a number 2, a number 5, 6 hitter, and being a productive guy in this team.
With Steve Phillips, I'm curious what you think of this Alex Rodriguez report. I'm sure you read it earlier, Steve. ESPN is the one reporting it, and he works for ESPN. That I guess the DEA and, back during the whole Biogenesis, Balco era, A-Rod was being, I guess, investigated, and I believe it was the DEA basically gave him, carte blanche, said anything you say here will not be incriminating. You can tell us what's on your mind.
And now it's not that secret?
Well, and now this report is outed that A-Rod was ratting on other players. According to this report, that he said Manny Ramirez was taking PEDs. Ryan Braun was, and then there was there was a third All-Star that was not named that never actually got clipped by Major League Baseball or ever tested positive. But he's still really active in the baseball world.
More hated than ever with this. If it's true that he came out and ratted out other players, there's nothing more that will get you more hated.
How does he redeem himself if he can, Steve? What do you make of it?
Yeah, no. If this is verified, I honestly don't believe that he's on another telecast. I don't know how. I think that it would be affecting his Q factor in such a significant way that, for him being on a panel for the playoffs, remember, he's always on the Fox panel for the postseason. How are the other players that, like, it doesn't matter if none of the guys on the panel were guys he ratted out. If he ratted out other players, I really do think that this is going to be, quite honestly, the end of his media career. I don't know how you recover from that.
No, it seems like it would be pretty difficult to recover from that. Thank you, Steve. We'll do it again soon.
All right, great. You're the guy, Hazy.
I know that, buddy. I appreciate that, too. I appreciate the reinforcement.
No, he thinks he's the guy.
No, I don't.
Yeah. Oh, hang on a sec. Steve, I got one last thing for you, Steve. We were talking earlier.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about guys having like a hockey head, like this big giant head with the helmet in it, and it's a certain look. If there was like a baseball head, would it be like Wade Boggs? Would that be like the guy that just embodied like the baseball head?
It's interesting. Bruce Bochy's the guy. Bruce Bochy played for the Mets. They had to call the company and have them create his own special helmet because it was like a size 9.5, and they've never seen a bigger head than Bruce Bochy's head. And the only other guy with a big head was Jay Horwitz, the media relations guy for the Mets. He could never find a hat that would fit him either. But for Bochy, he was known for I think they called him bucket head back in the day. But he had the biggest head you're ever going to see. And look, they're in town. You can check it out in the dugout tonight.
Yes.
I mean, you'll know what I'm talking about when you looked at it. There should be a chin strap on that thing.
He's got the baseball stroll out there, too.
Look at
that is baseball head.
Look, we're showing it up on TSN, Steve. His head, that is a massive melon.
Yeah.
Massive squash.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's a big one.
All right, Steve. Thanks, pal.
Okay, guys. See ya.
Steve Phillips, our TSN MLB analyst, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Build your next dream Toyota at Maple Toyota. Check out Maple Toyota's pre-owned inventory arriving daily. It's time to Toyota. Visit mapletoyota.com.
How about he throws the PR guys under the bus?
Right,
It's
like
the
anyone would know
PR
who
guy.
that is.
Just a random PR guy. Massive
The PR guy has a huge head, too. It's like,
Right.
all right. Like, we had on one of the teams I played for, the trainer had a massive head, like massive. And, his nickname was Head. Like, it was like it's just, there's nothing you could do. Like, he'd throw it here. Like, it just, the guy's squash was so big. Like, it just, twice the size of everybody else's. There's not much you can do about it, but that's tough to come back from. So.
It sure is, and it will be tough for A-Rod to come back from this, too. You talk about being a foxhole guy, like in sports, the importance of being, known as a guy you can trust in the room. And I'm not sure anyone trusts A-Rod anyway, and if you do, I think that's on you. Like, at no point in his life has he put forth this front that he's a trustworthy guy.
But you know how when we go to commercial break and we just shoot the breeze about normal stuff, no one would ever want to talk to that guy.
Yeah.
Because they'll be saying, I can't trust this guy. He wouldn't be able to have a conversation in normal work life afterwards.
Right. Well, I guess maybe he was scared that, he was going to go to jail or something, but the idea that this would help him somehow by ratting out other players.
Yeah, and the one thing we don't know is we don't know the context of how the questions were being asked. Mm-hmm. When you're in front of people like that, sometimes you crap your pants, and if they say who else was doing it, sometimes you just blurt out, "No, I don't know."
Exactly.
That's the one thing we don't know is the context of how he was being asked the question and what the format was and how under the gun he was. Because who knows how you're going to react.
That is valid. If you're sitting there with the DEA or the FBI or something under the lights and they're grilling you, then that's who knows. But the report is indicating he was given immunity. So effectively, like anything you say, anything you give us here is not going to be held against you, will not be made public. I'm not sure how it is being made public now. I mean, this is pretty serious journalism for it to get out. And I love the report. Like, he works for ESPN. And the report says ESPN reached out for comment, but it was not made available. Like, the guy's
that's
down
like
the hall.
saying, you know how you watch a forensics file show and you say to the guy in jail, if you tell us where this is, maybe we'll be a little less. And then he tells you the information. It's like, nah, you're still getting the death penalty. Sorry, pal.
Right.
It's like, how do you go back on that type of stuff?
A-Rod still got suspended for a full season, right? He got like 211 games or whatever. Like, he still And again, the crazy thing is, like, Manny got his. Manny got suspended multiple times. Ryan Braun got suspended. And Braun had a crazy – remember the allegations
MVP.
of how he was
an MVP.
Over? Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was a third unnamed all-star that, like, A-Rod named that is not in this report that I guess they didn't have access to. That's who you want to know. Like, who was the third guy that A-Rod ratted on?
Just threw under the bus.
That just – yeah, exactly. Like, who did he have some sort of personal vendetta against? Who knows? All right, role play level of concern still to come. Darren Dreger just after 6 o'clock. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
You can never, ever ask me to stop drinking. Do you understand?
I do. I really do.
All right, here we go. Role play level of concern. Haven't played this in a while. One of our favorites. It's a Wednesday afternoon, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We love it. A little role play level of concern. Very simple game. Very simple
I have to get
game.
my stuff together.
Yep.
I just read a document that was sent to me.
Yeah, there's some level of concern out there in the world. You better watch yourself when certain people are sneaking around.
Yes,
You really got to watch yourself.
greasy.
Greasy
Anyway,
behavior. out
Carry
there in the world.
on.
All right, so role play level of concern. We go around the table. Each of us are, basically applied a person, a place, a thing. There's a scenario that comes up, and we give our level of concern. A pint on the patio, no concern. Maybe a six-pack and a shot, mediocre concern. Our boy Marty Wildwood, that's pretty high levels of concern.
Yeah,
and then, of course, Nick Cage's nuclear levels of concern. All right, very simple stuff. Let's start with O. You are playing the role of the state of New York. You're the state of New York. That is the home to 3 NFL teams, the Bills, the Giants, the Jets. What is your level of concern that none of your teams are going to make the playoffs this year?
Play it.
You can never, ever ask me to stop drinking.
And the only reason I played that is because I am familiar with Jets fans. Mm-hmm. Do you know why?
Why?
Because old ugly ass face Brian McCabe is a diehard, and he has a buddy named Freddie who has a van. It's a Winnebago painted in green, and the logos are on the side. And I was in it after a game one night. And they're like, "This is the Jets thing," and we take it to all the games. And I know how much hatred there is involved. And I know how much hatred there is towards Zach Wilson. And just the hatred, all of it. Like, they hate Danny Dimes. They hate all of those people right now. And I just know that after that weekend, or the 2 days that were had back-to-back there, there's a lot of hatred. And they are Nick Cage in Vegas with their teams.
They are.
Yeah.
What about the Buffalo Bills, though? They're in the state of New York. You got to remember that.
Oh, the Buffalo Bills, that might take it down to a Marty Wildwood. I think Buffalo's going to regroup. Josh Allen's too good. I did hate his comments.
Yeah.
I did not hear the state of New York part.
Yes, it was not the city of New York. Your head was somewhere else.
Okay.
I understand that. I'll tell you
I'm
what.
going to reverse it to you said none make the playoffs?
None of them. Bills, Jets, Giants.
That's 6 beers for lunch and a couple Grey Goose shots.
I think it's more than that.
No. You can't include the Buffalo Bills. They're going to make the playoffs.
I think they're going to make the playoffs too, but there's a weird vibe around them. There is a weird vibe, and that was awful on Monday night. Awful.
I do agree with that. A weird vibe.
Weird vibe.
That McDermott had Scrabble face game one.
Yes. Not
He
good.
did.
Not good. Noodles, you're playing the role of Vladdy Guerrero Jr. What is your level of concern that you're going to take the brunt of the blame if the Blue Jays miss the playoffs this year?
The brunt of the blame? I want to say play it, but hold on a second here.
Play it.
Because Manoah, like there will be like a list of things that went wrong. They're going to say injuries and Manoah and that.
Schneider's
but ultimately,
a whipping boy. Atkins a whipping boy at times.
But play it. Play it.
You
Back-to-back jacks.
never ask me to stop drinking.
I was going to be Marty Wildwood, but I think when it comes down to it, Vladdy wants to get paid. He wants that huge contract, all of that type of stuff that all we've been talking about for 2 years, and he didn't deliver. If they miss the playoffs, it'll be a lot on him that
Yes.
he
Ross
needed to be
Atkins
better.
will wheel out
I
there and
agree.
say, guys, he's the youngest guy in the clubhouse. Like, get off yourself.
No one's going to buy that in Toronto.
but-
It's a fact. I understand that, but no one's going to.
Well, that's what's coming.
And-
That's what's coming. So get ready for
but
it.
Bichette had a great year leading up to the injury.
Yes.
Now he's kind of working it. Like, he's not an excuse other than the injury, yes. But it'll be Vladdy.
Yep.
They expected more from Vladdy, and he hasn't gotten
He's
it done
under the
yet.
gun, and
Let's
he
see what
deserves to
does.
be. Yeah, it's it's what have you done for me lately? League. That's the sports world we
Yeah.
live in. Vladdy has been incredibly underwhelming all season. And, Schneider's going to be there. The manager always is when it goes wrong. The GM always is when it goes wrong. But I agree. I think Vladdy he'll be in the limelight for sure. I am playing the role of Zach Wilson, the new QB1 with the New York Jets. What is my level of concern the Jets will eventually find a replacement for me this season? I don't know if we've ever had a 3-pack.
You can never
In a row.
ask me to stop drinking.
I don't think we have. And listen, they can say what they want to say and what they have to say. All right?
Yeah,
He
it's
is
his
starting
team.
next week. So, like, the NFL works they operate in a world of 1 week at a time. Right now, he's their guy. There is no chance that GM in New York is not absolutely all over phone, text, email, fax, everyone on earth that has access to a quarterback that might be slightly better than Wilson. He's calling and he's checking in on. And if they win some games even with him, that I think makes it even more likely that they feel the rest of the team is so good they deserve a shot at a quarterback who can play competent football. So I don't think for a second Zach Wilson can sit there and feel secure in his role. I don't think he can. You have to be nervous. Now, he should turn this into positive energy, right? Like, I'm going to prove the world wrong here. I know who I am. This is a great opportunity. This is an opportunity for him to make his career. Zach Wilson can quite literally solidify like a 10-year career in the NFL if he plays really well and wins ball games this year. But I'm not holding my breath, and I'm not holding my breath that Zach Wilson starts every game the rest of the year.
Maybe Carson Wentz. Never know.
Maybe Carson Wentz. You never know. Oh, you're playing the role of Zach Johnson, the captain of the American Ryder Cup team.
love
Your
it.
boy. Yes.
I love it.
Little Sea Island there for you. What is your level of concern that if Justin Thomas is an absolute mess at the Ryder Cup, you're going to get crushed by the American golf media?
I am a glass of water with a lemon.
Wow.
Ooh.
And I've told you guys that this guy walks on pretty high water in the golf community, and that's why he was selected. I do believe I would rather take my chance with Justin Thomas over any of the guys that were mentioned. I just think he's that talented of a guy, and Scotty Vale's probably going to get mad at me for saying this, but when the Ryder Cup happens, you throw him and Spieth out there in the first group, they just seem to get it done. I don't know. I just think there's some athletes and some golfers that deserve the benefit of the doubt. And Justin Thomas has been a really good player for a long time and been really clutch in a lot of events, a lot of team events, with Spieth as his partner. I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt as opposed to saying, you've had a bad couple months or possibly a bad year, you're not on the team. Brooks Koepka's been playing live golf.
Right, but at the majors, he was
did.
lights out.
Yes, I agree.
Lights out.
I agree. I just think this is a glass of water with a lemon. Obviously, Zach Johnson's going to hear about it if those two completely soil their underpants and they play like garbage because they're going to be asking the questions. Why?
Yeah. Well,
And he's going to have to answer it. I thought he deserved the benefit of the doubt.
That's what he's going to say, and that is the truth.
So the reason I'm a glass of water with a lemon is because I'm fully confident that Justin Thomas will be a stud for America at the Ryder Cup.
Well, we will see. He's playing this week at the Fortinet Open or whatever it's called. That's a rarity, man.
That'll be interesting to see how he plays because if he's garbage again, then everyone's going to say, really, man?
Yeah, I know. If you can't make the cut in this field, that's trouble. Noodles, you're playing the role of Matthew Nyes, Maple Leaf rookie Matthew Nyes. What is your level of concern that you will spend some time with the Marlies this season?
Ooh. Listening to his media today, it would be just a glass of water, but I think they're always in the back of your mind. You have to have a little bit of fear heading into your first training camp, everything. So I'm going to go a pint on the patio because I think he's going to play. I think he's a good enough player to play. My only concern with him is if he gets a little too much too early, they might move him down in the lineup, maybe healthy scratch and stuff like that. But I think he's more an NHL player. I really do. And a short sample size, but I like some of the things I saw. I didn't like everything, but you can't be perfect, early on. But I'm a pint on the patio.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. He's waiver exempt, right? Like you got a situation where you're up against a cap or something. I don't know.
Maybe cap gymnastics. I didn't think of that.
Anything's
I'm talking
possible.
just based on play. I'm talking just based on play.
But it's no guarantee. Like we see this.
No, you're right.
Who was it recently? Caulfield did this, right? Where he had that lights out run with the Habs. The next year he struggled, like to the point where I believe they sent him to Laval. Like Matthew Knies, I love the prospects of this kid. I think he's clearly their number one prospect, and I think he's going to have a very good career as a Maple Leaf. But it is no guarantee this guy just hits the ground running and never looks back. Like if he's struggling 10 games in, Keefe's in it to win it. Like they'll push him down the lineup or take him out. And if it's a scenario where he's not in the lineup for 4 or 5 games, they'll send him down. And they should at that point. Right? Like the Leafs have done a good job of developing, right? Like they've done a good job of committing to letting guys sit down there, let them grow. There's exceptions with a Matthews or a Marner or whatever, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Well, ask that Nick Robertson. You're right. He came up and everyone wanted to force feed him into the lineup.
And that guy is going to be interesting to see what he's all about. Like
he's not guaranteed anywhere.
I don't even know what he's going to be.
Team.
Yeah, I know. Just to see what he's actually going to be. Healthy. Right. What is he? Is he an NHL player, AHL player? Going to be interesting to see what he's all about.
Yeah, there's hype around him, clearly, and he had a great junior career, but that's junior.
Long ago, man.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
He's starting from scratch now, man. I would expect him to start with the Marlies. Like, I'd be surprised if he broke camp with the Leafs.
And keep in mind, he wasn't Brad Treliving's draft pick.
That's right.
Now, this is the other thing, too. New manager, he gets eyes on certain things that he's going to have a different perspective than Kyle Dubas does, right? So he doesn't. There's no allegiance to, hey, I drafted this kid, and if he doesn't like what he sees, then he can make some quick decisions. That's always the scariest thing when somebody new comes in, new coach, new manager, that they don't have that allegiance to you. You've got to re-earn it with that person. Not re-earn it. You've got to establish yourself with that person.
Absolutely.
So,
and listen, that applies with Knies too, right? Like all these guys are new under the umbrella of Brad Treliving, for sure.
Right.
All right, I am playing the role of the University of Colorado Buffaloes. What is my level of concern that Deion Sanders will be out of there in the next 2 years? Hammer it.
You can never ask me to stop drinking.
He is way too big for that school, like way too big. And he's moving up the pecking order, but he's doing so at such a rapid pace. He is on every national show daily. Like you look down in the States, he's on ESPN, he's on Fox. What he has done for that program, and they're 2-0, is incredible. Like,
dude, Stephen A. Smith went out there and did a show like in Colorado.
They're going there this Friday.
Yeah.
They're going there this Friday. They're going to be on the field in Colorado.
But do you think he's going up the pecking order to a big-time school, or do you think he'll make the jump to the NFL?
One or the other. I would guess. He's thinking NFL. Who knows? I obviously don't know him personally. I don't know what his dreams and aspirations are. He may be made for college because college is about recruiting, is about, rah-rah.
Buying into his hype.
Exactly, and building up a program, building up a brand. Like, you know how many kids down in the States would be dying to play for primetime? Like, dying to play for him.
Yeah.
The NFL, it's different. The NFL, you got guys that are like, hey, I'm here for the money, or I'm here because I deserve to be here.
And you know how things work in college football. LSU brought Brian Kelly down there a couple years ago, and they just got their ass handed to them.
It's a mess.
The first game, 48-22, and he came out and said afterwards, "We're not the program I thought we were." Mm-hmm. So they make changes quickly in that business.
Exactly.
There is a prime example of an a college organization that will say, let's make a splash with Dion.
That's exactly it. Like I think one of either a Power 5 program, and the shift in college football is wild right now. And like he went to Florida State. You're telling me there wouldn't be someone in Florida State saying, let's bring in Prime, LSU, let's bring in Prime, or the NFL. Like he's too big for Colorado, man. And it's already. They're 2-0, and it's like, take advantage while you can, but in 2 years,
and the money that
guy
guy would command at one of those big schools, like I know USC brought in a guy, I don't know who the hell he is. He came from a different high-profile program, hundreds of bazillions of dollars.
Yeah, that's what's his name from Oklahoma. They brought him in. I'm blanking on his name, but he was there with Baker. He was there with Kyler Murray.
Massive dollars.
Yes, huge money because USC is such a big program.
Yes,
and it's gone nowhere. Basically since Pete Carroll left, almost. All right, there you go. Role play level of concern. All right, we've got Darren Dreger coming up in about 20 minutes. Back into Jays Rangers tonight. Our best bets brought to you by FanDuel later this afternoon. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Darren Dreger in about 15 minutes. CJ Nitkowski on Jays Rangers around 6:30. Best bet still to come as well. The NBA looks like they're going to approve these new rules, trying to get guys to actually play, which is nice. And
it's
the
crazy
fines,
that's a thing.
It is crazy, but it also I credit them because they realize it's crazy and they have to try to rectify it, right? Like at some point the NBA had to do something about star players sitting out big games. And what is the PA clearly is like, you guys can go and police your own people all you want. The players are not going to be fined. And I think that's an important clarification. I think the way it's worked out is if you were either an all-star or an all-NBA in any of the last 3 seasons, you would qualify as a star player. So with the Raptors, you only have Pascal Siakam, who that would apply to. But many teams have multiple players. So if you have multiple guys who fit this level of stardom sitting out, then the first time it happens, the team gets fined $100,000. The second time, it's $250,000. Then the third time, it's like $1,250,000, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the players aren't going to get touched. So what I'm curious of what's going to happen here is, if the players are like, well, I'm not going, you can chew on that fine. What happens? Because I think there's a lot of players in the NBA that are actively seeking nights off. And the team is working with them and saying, fine, we'll both operate under the same umbrella here. And, kumbaya, fine, we'll go out and say you're not playing tonight. But it's the player. Like, my understanding is Kawhi was driving a lot of the load management. The Raptors were clearly on board with it and cool with it. And it was very beneficial to them in the end.
But has it gotten to the point, Hayes, where, like, I can understand if somebody came to me and said, look, man, I just can't go back-to-backs because I need the rest, and then they were like dynamite for 10 games, like out of this world, LeBron in his prime, I could maybe buy into it. But has it gotten to the point where they just simply don't want to play? Because I find that to be absurd.
Yeah.
I think
that's where it's gotten to. They just don't want to play that many games.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Ridiculous.
82 games. They don't want to play that many games, and 3 games in 4 nights, 3 different cities, all of that type of stuff. They want to take it off. I think the teams will be creative somehow. It's like, okay, you got the, we've come up with the flu type of thing, like sore back. Like, it'll be an injury-related wink-wink type of thing, because they're not going to, hey, we're not going to get to $1 million in fines because we need to, our doctors are saying we need to rest you.
Exactly.
They desperately need more guys like Anthony Edwards, who just came out and said, I get paid to play 82, I'm playing them.
Well, and you know what? Like, moving into a different sport here, we've been talking a lot about Vladdy. Vladdy is a gamer, man. Like, he's not hitting worth a lick right now. He's been incredibly disappointing.
He goes out there every day.
Every single day, Vladdy Guerrero Jr. wants to play baseball and plays baseball. So the stats are one thing, and I'm not letting him off the hook. He's got to be way better. But I have a lot of time for a guy, and this shouldn't be like some exception to the rule. This should be the opposite. Right. But I appreciate guys who are like, I'm playing, man, every night. Yeah. You give me the ball, you give me the bat, you give me a stick, I'm out there and I'm playing. and I'm ready to go. Final hour coming up. Darren Dreger will join us. We'll get into a number of things with Dregs, including what's up with Atlanta possibly getting a third chance, a third crack at getting an NHL team.
It's not happening.
Well, we'll see what Dregs has to say about that. And a lot of, stud players in this country going into their final year in Toronto, Winnipeg, Calgary, elsewhere. We'll see what Dregs can tell us about that moving into a new season in the NHL. So Dregs and more coming up in the final hour. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050, soon to be up on TSN 2.